All right, guys, welcome to another Keyfactor tutorial. I'm Sven, and we've got Tanmoy here from the EJBCA developers. We're going to look at peer connections, what they are, and how do we use those with the Helm chart. All right, what is a peer connection, Tanmoy?
Yes. So you guys might be already aware of EJBCA comes in three flavors: certification authority, validation authority, and registration authority. Registration authority and validation authority, or RA and VA, are considered peers in context of EJBCA. Why we are doing this? So that we can ensure the certification authority, or CA, is sitting behind some secure domain. For an example, behind a firewall. So RS and the VS are in public facing network, and we are restricting outbound access, the inbound access towards the CA. Instead of going directly to CA, the devices in the internet connects to VA and RA, and CA reaches out to them so that there is no
Inbound
connections, malicious attempts to the CA directly. CA is directly connected to the HSM which hosts the CA keys. That's the whole point of making sure everything is secure. And how we are achieving this is, this is where we are saying this thing, a peer protocol. So
What is the peer protocol?
So the peer protocol allows you to from CA connect out to RAs and the VAs and communicate securely. So a device or another tenant RA can send a request to RA, but RA does not communicate back to CA. On the other hand, CA reaches out to RA and asks, hey, is there any new request has come in? For an example, maybe a issuance request. So hey, CA then reaches out, hey, I got this issuance request, so here's the new certificate, I got it signed for you. How it is happening? Behind the scenes, it is happening with mutual TLS. So both RS and VS are connected with this mTLS, and the objects we are exchanging is basically serialized Java objects. So that is why it is kind of a proprietary thing. You cannot use it with any other applications. So for an example, it is not just a REST API, it is actually some serialized object behind the scenes, but for the security, it's mTLS.
So what is a peer configuration? How do I do this? Where do I start?
Yes.
Do I start on the CA or the RA or the VA? Where do I start?
Yeah. Of course, I would say we should start at CA, because from CA we can reach out to both of this. And there's actually a lot of things going on, but at the end of the day, it comes down to just four things. So of course, I am reaching out to the peer. I need to know where my peers are. So RS and VS, I need to know their URL or IP addresses. Without that, I cannot do anything. Obviously, when I'm reaching out, I should have some means to authenticate, because yes, I get the RS and the VS are in lesser secure domain, but still it should not allow anything to connect to it. And finally, even if it's allowing something to connect, it should still tell what kind of things are authorized, and also the other way around. So in CA, if the RS and VS are connected, so what kind of request I should serve. So if an RA is reaching out to me, should I allow it to create an user or identity? Should I allow it to revoke a certificate perhaps, or what kind of things? That kind of things is used with authorization. And finally, how to connect to it securely. So that is where we will see how a remote authentication with key bindings can be set up. But to do it in the peer side, so the RS and the VS side, once more, in this side we have to tell it, hey, you are a remote peer, you should allow CA to connect to you. And once more, authenticating the CA and some permissions for the CA, that kind of thing we need to configure. It is pretty similar to what we have done in the CA, but it has some different rule. And then finally some additional configurations, because you need to know what kind of issuer CA we have already kind of set up. So those kind of things can also be done using deployment automation. If you have already taken a look into our other videos or documentation, you might know already we have a separate UI page where these peer connectors are configured, whereas this authentication and authorization is configured using another UI page called roles and the access rules in there. Like we have different sections in the page, and sometimes you jump into a separate page, and from the UI you configure everything. And then finally the remote authenticator, which we'll discuss in detail. There we create an mTLS connection based on a private key, which is reciting a crypto token, similar to what you have done perhaps like when you created your CA. And then you enroll a certificate against this. So finally you have a mTLS certificate to go ahead. And similar to this thing, on the peer side, you are allowing a peer connection from the outside. So that's why this peer system configurations page comes into the picture. It is the same page as before. Another this time also you revisit the same page, roles and access roles, but in the peers, so that the CA can access the peer properly. And finally the CAs you have set up in the CA nodes, you need to configure them in the peer systems like RS and VS2, so their certificate needs to be imported, and some similar things in this direction. All of these things can be done with deployment automation, we will see soon. Furthermore, the most interesting thing, we should also enable protocols like REST, ACME, or like CMP, that kind of thing in the array. On the other hand, in the VS side, we should enable protocols like OCSP to take maximum advantage for EJBCA. All of these things we will see soon how to do this.
So now that we kind of have an understanding of what's going on to make a peer connection, what are we going to use to configure this with automation?
Yeah, so that is where this config dump comes in. So as you can see the name, config dump, so you are dumping a lot of configuration. So it's quite a huge JSON file you might dump, but it is the same set of configuration you might be like doing here and there. So this config dump is actually really useful, because as a developer or like someone likes trying to like setting up an infrastructure, I can use this config dump to like create or import CAs, enable protocols, all these rules and these other things.
Infrastructure as code.
Yes.
Which is the hot way to deploy PKI today.
All of this thing comes down to this config dump. And here we are to like simplify the setup for you, so that you can understand and you can do it for yourselves for your own design.
We can wrap up this tutorial with this overview, but the next video we come out with, we're going to go into the settings within the values.yaml and some examples of how you set this up to actually do it. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Don't go too far away.